Hi everyone, and welcome to Serenova Crafts. This is episode 122, and it is the 23rd of October, 2017. It is a Monday night. This is version 2 of this episode. I tried recording once this morning, and it did not go well. I recorded fine, but my computer won't process the file. So I am trying this again this evening. I want to do this today instead of like putting it off for another day or two because I want to do it while the Rhinebeck memories are still fresh. So this is my Rhinebeck episode. But to finish my intro before I got distracted, if you are a returning viewer, thank you for coming back. If you are a new viewer, thank you for checking me out. There's going to be not really a lot of knitting in this episode because I'm mostly going to be showing off things I got or just talking about things I did. Please excuse the background behind me. When I was packing for the weekend, this side got even messier than it had been. And I am still working on getting enough storage to actually have everything be neat and tidy. But like I said, this is my episode about Rhinebeck, so I'm basically just going to do a recap of the weekend while the memories are still fresh in my mind, and I can still say, oh, yesterday we did blah, 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 right? Because it's Monday night. So if there are a few jumps in the recording, I'm going to apologize in advance. It means I either had to cough or blow my nose. My seasonal allergies are in full swing, and instead of making you listen through that, I will instead cut that out. So to start off Rhinebeck weekend, I left on Friday. On Friday, Jen, who is the uncreative crafter, came to my house, and she left her car right outside, and I drove us to New York. Now, we did detour to Webb's along the way. If you know what Webb's is, hopefully you know what Webb's is. Neither of us actually bought anything. A lot of it was very big brand stuff. And nothing really struck either of us. Last year I got some sock yarn, but it was kind of the same brand still on sale this year. So neither of us actually bought anything at Webb's. We successfully resisted the temptation. However, I did run into someone I know from my local knit group at Webb's. I thought I'd recognized her husband walking in the door, and then I heard her voice later on, and I'm like, is that who I think it is? Yes, it is. So I went over and said hi, and then she asked me to help her choose a color for her sweater. So, you know, that's how it goes. Eventually, we got to New York, to Phoenicia, where we were staying in the cabin. Jen and I were staying with Sarah, who is the Canadian knitter. And the fourth person to make up our cabin this year was Marcia from Fairy Tale Knits. I think that's what she is. Fairy something. She is Fairy Tale Knits, I believe is her podcast. I really should, double check who people are, before where's my phone? I can double check. I really should double check who people are before I start talking about them, because I've only met Marcia this once, and she was very nice, but at the time I'm like, who, what are we? Let's see. I can look up who she is. Come on. Oh, she is Fairy Little, and she is the Fairy Little podcast. Marcia of the Fairy Little podcast. She stayed with Sarah, Jen, and I in the cabin. Jen and I were the first people there, but the couple who own and run the cabins were nice enough to just let us in so we could unpack, get settled in. We actually spent some time knitting on the porch. When we arrived, actually, Selma is Little Big Knits, and then Marcia is Very Little. So Selma, Kate, who is Hawthorne Craft, and their friend Holly, who I don't believe has a podcast, were sitting outside chatting. They were staying in a lodge very close by, and they were waiting for Sue and Lynn and Elizabeth to show up. Now, that's Sue and Lynn of the Two Tangled Skeins podcast, and Elizabeth was a friend of theirs who was along for the ride. Everyone was waiting for them to show up, and so we checked in, got our stuff in the cabin, relaxed, did some knitting, and then eventually Sarah showed up. And after Sarah showed up, we went on the search for dinner. Sue and Lynn had shown up in the meantime, but they immediately basically turned around and left to go to Indie Untangled. Jen and I had no interest in Indie Untangled this year because we'd gone last year and it was utterly insane. And I am good in crowds, and that crowd bothered me. So we decided not to go this year. We were going to avoid the stress, avoid the crush. And parking isn't great anyways. So we're just like, we're good. We're just going to go do dinner. So we ended up at McDonald's like the cool kids do. There is an Instagram picture of the three of us. We took a McDonald's selfie because we were just being weird about that. Um, and then it was back to the cabin. By this time, everyone else had come back. And so we all kind of hung out in Lynn and Sue's cabin and chatted, and then all got to bed early so we could get up in the morning. So on Saturday, we got up pretty early. Marcia went with the other ladies from Lynn and Sue's cabin and Selma and them because they wanted to go to a specific diner for breakfast. Sarah and Jen and I weren't really feeling the diner. We knew it was going to be packed because it's like one of the few local places in Phoenicia, New York, because it's a very small town. And we're like, you know what? We saw this really cute bakery. We're just going to go there. And they actually had really good breakfast sandwiches, and they were pretty reasonable. And by pretty reasonable, I mean they were cheap. And it was actually good food. So, like, and hey, supporting a small local business, right? So we got our breakfast sandwiches, and then we went off to New York Sheep and Wool, aka Rhinebeck, which is what this whole episode is about. If you do the drinking thing, there's going to be lots of name dropping, and it's totally not on purpose. It's just all these people I saw. You know, Oh, and Saturday night we'd also like all brought stuff for each other. I brought tea and minis for people, and they brought stuff, and so we did this whole big swap of stuff on Friday night. And I unloaded like half of my trunk was full of like tea and other assorted stuff when I went to New York, and I'm like, okay, get this out of my trunk now. Keep it, go, make it go away. The Canadians, I hope they didn't have trouble at the border because of me, because it's like, oh, anything to declare? 3 pounds of tea. But anyways, Saturday. Like I said, we got up early. We went to the festival. Sarah, Jen, and I were there about a half hour after they opened. We're not the crazies who are going to run right in as soon as the doors open. In fact, none of us were looking for anything in particular, but you know, it was still pretty crowded. I mean, it was crowded. Like on day 2, I had cell phone reception. Day 1, I didn't have cell phone reception. That they we overloaded the networks on day 1. I mean, there was a lot of people there. But pretty soon after we arrived, Jen went off to go find Andrea, who is the cat lady, and that's CATT for Craft All the Things. They twinsy a lot with like shawls and knitting projects and stuff, though Andrea's like 6 feet tall and Jen's like 5 feet tall. So, they don't really look like twins, but they do twinsy stuff a lot. And that's what the twinsy shawl is, and I did the tested for Andrea. And actually, I will have a giveaway coming up of that on the podcast. Not quite sure when, because we have a list, and I need to double check with Andrea when I decide I was going to do it, but look for it in the next week or so. I think 2 weeks. But anyways, Jen went off to go find them. Sarah came with me to go pick up my souvenirs. I got the t-shirt, I got a sweatshirt, and I got this year's tote bag. I've decided that getting the tote bag is my thing. So I want every tote bag from every Rhinebeck I go to. So, 2017 New York State Sheep and Wool Festival. You can see it's the same design. But I also got a sweatshirt that, why am I suddenly green? I'm not going to bother trying to deal with the colors. I'm going to click a button and then re-click the button, and then hopefully it works. Nope. Okay, so green. I'm just going to leave it as is. I'm not going to show you much that requires you to see a lot of colors, so I'm just going to keep talking. Not too much show and tell this episode, but lots and lots of talking, and you can watch me make funny faces. So we went off to the milk barn. I picked up my stuff, which gave me a tote bag to carry stuff in. Not that I was getting much. I really wasn't. And then we just wandered. We managed to do most of the barns. Yes, I actually printed out show notes this time because I wanted to remember to actually talk about everything. Because when I recorded this morning, I missed like half of the stuff I wanted to talk about. And so now I printed it out for myself. And we just wandered. We managed to do all the upper barns, and I believe we did the lower barns before the podcaster meetup, which was at 1 o'clock. We went there, saw lots of people. That's when I finally saw Andrea. And we met back up with Jen, and then I saw Joan and Linda, who are 2 of my followers. Hi, thank you for coming and saying hi. I was being semi-antisocial because I was a little overwhelmed by the crowd. I can get overwhelmed by big groups of people sometimes. It depends. So, yes, thank you for approaching me and saying hi. I basically sat on Andrea's blanket and didn't move for like an hour because the podcaster meetup was absolutely massive. And I figured if anybody wanted to talk to me, I posted a picture of what I looked like and where I was sitting, and they could come find me. Which I know sounds really rude. I know that sounds really rude. But I only consider myself like a D-list podcaster. And honestly, I was so overwhelmed, and I was tired from walking around. And I've been working 2 jobs, so I didn't really have a break before going to Rhinebeck. And I didn't have a break today either. I worked a 12-hour day today. So I was just tired. Like mentally and physically tired. So I know that sounds super, super rude, but next year I promise I'll be much more sociable and much more like, yay, hi, how you doing? You know, because I won't be exhausted in all sense of the term. But you know, while we were at the podcaster meet up, we took a big group picture. I will post that with all the other pictures at the end. I will try to tag everyone, but I make no guarantees. Because, you know, I make no guarantees I'll remember who everyone was. Andrea had some friends who'd come with her that they were in the picture, and then all of us were in the picture, and then Lynn's cabin was in the picture, and just it was like 10 people in the picture, and I'm like, I don't know who y'all are. But so after that, Sarah and I wandered back over to like the main barns, like where like Miss Babs is, and Into the World, and like the big booths. We were just going through the barns, and you know, I'm waiting outside of a booth for Sarah because I'm like, okay, I don't have much spending money. I'm gonna really, really like think about my purchasing choice. And Sarah's like, oh, I'm gonna duck in this booth, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna wait off on the side here out of the flow traffic and wait for you. So about 10-15 minutes later, she pops out, hands me a skinny yarn. She bought me a skein of yarn. It is royal blue. It is blue. It is very, very blue. This is Misty Mountain Farm. Knitting, Spinning, Winning. They're mistymountainfarm.com. And this is their koala, which is 90% Australian raised wool and 10% nylon in their royal blue colorway. There. So I think this is more like a heavy fingering, because it is pretty thick for a fingering. And they say US size 3, so I'm going to go with heavy fingering. So I'm thinking I won't make socks out of it, even though it is sock yarn, because it is soft enough to do next to skin, and I might do like a shawlette or maybe a hat with it. Something with maybe a lot of cables would work really well with this. I don't know why it keeps going green on me, but thank you, Sarah. I very much appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. It is very squishy, very fun yarn, and I'm going to agonize over what to make out of it. Well, not agonize, but it's going to be a hard decision. So, and then around 3:30, we headed out. We headed to dinner. We just went to Ulster, New York, but there was a little bit of a kerfuffle with communication and with meeting everyone. So we all showed up at different times, but eventually we were all there together. And Andrea, thank you for taking a picture. I'm going to post it at the end with all the other pictures, the group picture of us eating at Panera because, you know, Panera, we're dorks. But then, you know, after Panera, it was, let's go to Target because they don't have Target in Canada. So all the Canadians wanted to go to Target. Sarah had a list of foods her husband wanted. Another one of the Canadians, I believe it was Elizabeth, said that she needed some baby clothes. And so we went to Target, which is literally like a half mile from Panera. I was on the mission for a Sharpie because my Ravelry button had my name worn off of it, and I needed a Sharpie to rewrite my name on my Ravelry button. And while I was there, the previous day, Lynn had picked up a Libra mug, and I was like, ooh, I like that. So I found a Scorpio mug for myself because I am, in fact, a Scorpio. My birthday is exactly in the middle of November, and it's the big 3-0 this year. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to treat myself to a Scorpio mug. Even though I don't really hold with like horoscope, personality, astrology, all that stuff, I'm like, it's a cute mug, and it's something I associate myself with, so there we go. Scorpio mug. They're at Target. $5.99. Yeah, this has become a Target ad. And then afterwards, you know, we all headed back to the cabin, which had no cell signal whatsoever. They haven't for the last 2 years. I don't think they're going to anytime soon unless Phoenicia builds a cell tower, which I don't think is going to happen. And we stayed up. We were aiming to go to bed fairly early. Like Sarah, Jen, and I went back to our cabin at like 9:30, 10 o'clock. And then what do? We stayed up talking until freaking, you know, after midnight, you know. And of course, Sunday, yesterday, day 2. Technically day 3 because we were doing stuff on Friday, but day 2 of New York Sheep and Wool. We get up early because, you know, we need to check out of the cabin. Sarah needs to get on the road to go home. Sarah agreed to drive Marcia to the train station so she didn't have to take a cab from Rhinebeck to Rhinecliff, because Rhinecliff was in between Phoenicia where we were and Rhinebeck where we were going. It was a little out of Sarah's way, but, you know, she's good people. And so she dropped Marcia off at the train station, then she headed home for Canada. Sue, Lynn, Selma, Kate, Holly, and Elizabeth all did second day of Rhinebeck as well, along with Jen and I. They went to the diner again for breakfast. And Jen and I were still like, we're good. We're just going to go back to the bakery and get another breakfast sandwich because those were really good. And so we met up like once we had gotten to the festival. Jen and I again got there around 9:30. We left about when we planned. We planned to leave around 1:30. This was about a 4-hour drive home from Rhinebeck to get to where I live in New Hampshire. Jen still had an hour drive after that to get back to her place, but 1 hour is better than 4 hours. And I did all the driving because she's not the greatest with highway driving. So I'm just like, you know what? I'll just do it. It's my car. I know it. I know the roads. I know the Mass Pike, which is I-90, by the way. If you don't know what the Mass Pike is, it's I-90. And I just went through it. We did hit some traffic on the Mass Pike, but I think that's because people are idiots, honestly. But we had a good time on day 2 at the festival. We got into a few booths to look at stuff that we couldn't get into the day before because they were so packed. And miracle of miracles, Jenny the Potter was still there. She hadn't yet packed up and gone home because she still had stuff. So I got this necklace. I'm wearing it now. It is little knit stitches on a little thing. I changed out the cord it was on. It came on a chain, but I have a very severe nickel allergy. Like I cannot have anything with any nickel content whatsoever in it, basically, or I have a reaction. So it's basically like sterling silver or 18 karat gold or better. Like I can't even do surgical steel. There's too much nickel in surgical steel. I'm dead serious. I cannot do surgical steel, which is super frustrating because I can't buy cute cheap earrings. Doesn't work. I can't even wear cute cheap bracelets. Yeah, no, I can't do it. Sucks to be me. I know. It's a really crappy allergy to have because you can't buy any cheap jewelry. No costume jewelry for me. It hurts too much. Anyways, I changed out the chain, so now I can actually wear it. I've actually been wearing it all day because I put it on this morning. And then Jen was an absolute sweetheart and bought me a spindle for my birthday because I've been talking about how I wanted to try Turkish. And so she bought me a Turkish spindle. And this is a Snyder Spindles spindle. Here is his card. He does 3D printed spindles as well, and she'd wanted to get me one of those, but he didn't have any. But it's snyderspindles.etsy.com. Makes really cool stuff. She bought a Scottish spindle from him, which I'd never seen one of those before. So apparently Jen is now on a mission to collect all different kinds of spindles. So, and then that was pretty much it for Sunday. We left, like I said, Jen actually got stitch markers at Jenny the Potter, and then, you know, we headed home. But as for who I saw at the podcaster meetup on Saturday, because I'm doing things slightly out of order here, but you know, I collected lots of business cards. I have a stack of like stuff from booths. Like I said, I didn't have a big budget this year. In fact, I had an issue with my phone about a month before Rhinebeck, and that's where my yarn budget went, unfortunately, was to fixing my phone. So, but I have, I got a whole bunch of business cards to check people out and look things up. But I did see a whole bunch of people. I got minis from Sarah, who is a Canadian knitter. I got a little bit of fiber to try. This is from Classy Squid Fiber Company, and the colorway is Behind the Ruin. It's Romadale, Falkland, Silk, Firestar, Noel, and Angelina. It's actually like pretty it's got lots of little bits of color in there, so it should be interesting to try. I got each of these from the people who came with Andrea. One of them was named Kim, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the other person's name. But like a cute little bag of like buttons, and there's a few stitch markers in there. And then this is a cute little pouch. It's basically just one piece that folds all together. Basically like one piece of fabric. And then it folds up so that you get 2 little triangle pouches that hold stuff. It's a cute little thing to you know, I think it's cute. Cute little thing to sew. And then I got a stitch marker. So Kim was one of the ladies who came with Andrea. Kim from Chasing Acorns. I got a stitch marker from her. It is a giraffe. Cute little giraffe. It's actually not a stitch marker. It's actually a progress keeper because it's on a lobster claw. I had gotten a progress keeper from Tranquil Cottage Knits, but it fell off the card. I'm pretty sure it's in the bottom of the bag, but I need to fish it out. But Tranquil Cottage Knits. I need to find the things that fell out. There we go. And then I ran into, like on our way out of the fair, this wasn't even at the podcast meetup, but on our way out of the fair, I ran into Yarn Stories podcast, and Mrs. Crosby Loves to Play. These two ladies were walking around together, and I ran into them. It's not going to focus. There we go. Just as we were like getting ready to leave, and so we got buttons and said hi and exchanged info. Then Little Big Knits, which is Selma, got her button, and then I got a button from Knitting in Our Jeans. I don't know if you can see that. Come on. There we go. Knitting in Our Jeans. And then lastly, I got a mini, like a big mini, fat mini, and a Progress Keeper from Kate. We were calling her Irish Kate, but her name's just Kate, so I'm just going to call her Kate because I'm not mean. She's Hawthorne Cottage Craft, and she does have a YouTube. It's written on the back, but it's just Hawthorne Cottage Craft, and she is Irish, and she gave us all little Progress Keepers, and she did give me a DPN holder as well, but I put it in a bag because I wanted to use it for today. I didn't take it out of the bag before I started recording again, so I'm not going to rummage around in my backpack for it because you don't need to hear that noise. Anyways, I think that is it. That is everything I acquired and brought home or was given. Thank you, Jen, for the spindle. Very much, very, very, very much appreciate it. And thank you, Sarah, for the skein of yarn. I'm going to have to decide on something lovely to make out of this. So I hope you all have a good week. I will try to record at some point next week. Expect to have more actual knitting content next week and more actual like yarn to talk about because I actually will have made stuff or worked on stuff. I got surprisingly little knitting done at Rhinebeck. So as a reminder, the giveaway thread in my podcast group on Ravelry is still open. You have until Halloween, to the end of Halloween, or whenever I remember to lock the thread on November 1st to enter your stuff. Remember, you get a $6 pattern credit from me to you. It's a way to show if you finished objects. It doesn't have to be knit. It can be crochet, it can be weaving, it can be sewing, it can be spinning. Like, hey, I finished making this skein of yarn. Just a finished fibery related thing. Cross stitch is fine, embroidery, all that is totally cool. If you'd like to join the Ravelry group, leave a comment on YouTube, join the Facebook group. I will be posting when this is going up, which will be tomorrow. So even though this is technically October 23rd, it will be uploading October 24th because it is now almost 11 o'clock at night and I need to go to bed. I am very tired. I worked a 12-hour day at both jobs. Not 12 hours at each job, but 12 hours total. I was at the synagogue for 9:30 and then I left Yvonne at 9:30 and it was a very long day. But yeah, I think that is it. Like I said, check me out. I am Serenova on Ravelry and Twitter and Serenova Crafts on Instagram, so feel free to follow me. Message me, friend me on Ravelry, join the Facebook group, join the Ravelry group, follow me on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment. All of that is very, very appreciated. I try not to ask for it too much, but you know, it really would be nice. Actually, I took a screenshot today of my follower count before everyone's Rhinebeck episodes go up, and I will then see what happens to my follower account after everyone's Rhinebeck episodes go up. So we will see how many new followers I get. But thank you for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you sometime next week. Bye!